Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Jackie's got a sports show, and you are tuning in to that sports show. It might sound a little different. I'm having a little bit of an issue, as you can see on the YouTube video. Having a little bit of issue with my regular mic, so having to go back to the snowball for this episode. Hopefully, it doesn't sound too bad. It might even sound better since that microphone likes to pick up my S's a lot. Still learning the technical stuff, but y'all don't care about that. Y'all care about Jackie's opinion on sports, being that this is Jackie's sports show. Let's just get right into it. We're going to cover what happened in games 1 and 2 of the World Series, some NBA headlines that caught my eye, college football and the NFL weekend, obviously, and then we'll get out of here. We're looking to get a guest on the Tuesday or Wednesday episode of the show. Going to talk to him today about it, so that should be fun. Going to do the house cleaning after the show, but I will say, rate the show wherever you are. 5 stars. Just rate it. Helps me out a lot. And of course, share the show. Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, wherever, right? And if you're at work, you're at school, wherever you are, and someone says, "Yo, I'm looking for I'm looking for a sports show to listen to," you say, "Hey, Jackie's got a sports show. Tune in to that sports show." And let's just get right into the World Series. And I'll be honest, I've had a lot of fun covering the World Series, right? I played football for 11 years growing up, and it's gotten to a point now where I'm like, there's probably a universe where, you know, instead of football, Jackie just played baseball all his life. There's a very real possibility because I love baseball. I loved playing it, and now that I'm watching almost every game of the playoffs, I love keeping up with baseball. So what happened in game 1? Well, the Diamondbacks are up 5-3, right? I believe they're up 3-2 in the 5th inning, and then just carried 5-3 to the ninth, and then Corey Seager, 2-run shot with 2 outs, I believe, to send the game into extra innings, and the 10th comes and goes, and then the one they call El Bombi hits a walk-off in the 11th. Rangers win game 1. And the big takeaway from this is the Rangers would not go away. Now, if you keep up with baseball, that's probably a sentiment that has been, said 10,000 times, is the Rangers are a very scrappy team that doesn't go away, right? And they just showed it here. Every time they went down, it seemed like they couldn't do anything until they got 2 outs, right? 1 out or 0 outs, they just build the outs, right? They just build the outs, and then they would go down 2 outs in an inning, and then the bats would just start clicking, right? Just start hitting. And they kept getting on base. And that was the thing. They left a lot of guys on base. Don't get me wrong. They left a lot of guys on base. But they were showing the Diamondbacks that they are staying on base, that their hitters are hitting, and it's just a matter of time. Now, in game 2, that was not the case in the slightest. To summarize game 2, Merrill Kelly, the pitcher for the Diamondbacks, who started this game, allowed 3 hits. 3 hits. One of them a home run. The other 2 couldn't make it past first base. They weren't Riz gods, as the kids say. They didn't get to see no titty. Didn't make it past first base. Didn't make it out the friend zone. R.I.P. Right? Didn't make it to second base. An absolute masterpiece by Merrill Kelly, in which led the Diamondbacks to a 9-1 victory in game 2. Now, I don't know how sustainable that level of play is. I don't think we're going to see a lot of 9-1 games. I don't think we're going to see a lot of blowouts in general in this World Series, but absolute masterclass by Merrill Kelly. Game 3 is tonight. I'm definitely tuning in to see what happens in Arizona. They say the Rangers are undefeated in the playoffs. We'll see if they take their first loss. I still have the Diamondbacks beating the Rangers in 6 games. Now let's move to the NBA. Tip-off was last week, and a couple things have caught my eye. The Memphis Grizzlies have started 0-3. If you look at the standings right now, I know it's early in the season. I know it's only 3 games into the season, but they're 0-3 at the bottom of the Western Conference. And it's not like they've lost to like the best teams in the East and West. They lost to the Nuggets, sure. They lost to the Pelicans, in which they're the same level as, so like you kind of expect it. And then they lost to the Wizards. The Wizards, bottom of the East, Wizards. Just lost their best player to the Celtics, Wizards. You can argue Kyle Kuzma. It's a dumb argument, right? I don't know. I'm a little worried about the Grizzlies. Does losing Tyus Jones, losing Dylan Brooks, and losing Steven Adams, and not having John Morant, I guess once you put it all out there, you realize, oh my God. But they got, Marcus Smart should replace the defense that Dylan Brooks mostly would add to the team. It's hard to replace Tyus Jones, and it's hard to replace Steven Adams, but I don't know. I feel like this team should not be 0-3. At the very least, they should be 1-2, right? I don't know, just something to keep up with. Also, this team for the past 2 seasons seemed to play better when John Morant was not on the court. Seemed to have a really, really good record when John Morant was not on the court. And they're starting this season off 0-3. Now, the Mavs are 2-0. Now, they play the Grizzlies tonight, and they really needed a godlike effort from Luka to ward off Brooklyn. But they had a pretty solid victory against the Spurs. I talked about, Blake Lively and Wembanyama. I talked about that game because I watched that game. By the way, I was gonna watch the Clippers Spurs game last night, but I was like, when I turned it on, it was like 9-20, and I was like, do I really want to watch the Clippers just smack around the Spurs for 4 quarters? No. And I checked the score this morning, and the Clippers won 123-83, and I was like, yeah, yeah, that's why I didn't watch it. It's like I didn't watch. This is a tangent, but it's not. It's like I didn't want to watch Sunday Night Football. Said I'm not going to watch the Chargers smack around the Bears. Or I didn't say that. I wanted to say that, but usually when I say that kind of thing, the opposite happens. So I just said I don't want to watch the Bears and Chargers. I'd rather do anything else. And then the Chargers win what, like 30-13, right? Yeah, I'm cool on that. But the Mavs are very, very interesting, and it spells trouble if you need Luka. Like if it's just if their shooters go down, I don't think Luka can just save them every night, right? They're gonna be on, and they're gonna be on a lot, and when they're on, they're gonna be hard to beat, at least offensively, especially when they're facing a team that doesn't have a great defense. But yeah, it's just I don't know if the Mavericks are a sustainable team in their current state. You know what I mean? And the Magic, and I only want to bring this up. The Magic are off to a 2-0 start. Now, it's against the Rockets and Trailblazers. So you can take that with what you will, but I'm touting this because I said the Magic are a sleeper team this year. So I'm just going to mention the Magic are 2-0 and the Grizzlies are 0-3. That's all I'm going to say. So let's go college football. The playoff rankings are coming out tomorrow, so of course we'll talk about the playoff rankings when they come out tomorrow. But for now, let's talk about some things I noticed. USC kept a close game with California, or I guess California kept a close game with USC. California actually leading USC for the majority of this game. USC did win 50-49. And Emmanuel Acho got a lot of crap for saying Caleb Williams should just not play football anymore this season. He's already seen as a generational talent. He's already seen as pretty much the best quarterback prospect in the draft. And I don't know, it feels like, yeah, they came back, they won 50-49, but USC's not going to do anything. USC's not going to do anything. And I get, competitive spirit. You want to see the guys out there, but I don't know why risk the injury. And maybe there's enough crap with surrounding Caleb Williams. I think a little overblown, but there's enough crap surrounding Caleb Williams that sitting out for the rest of the season would, put the nail in his coffin in terms of dropping his draft stock. In the case where maybe Michael Penix Jr. gets drafted over him, maybe Cam Ward shows some stuff and he gets drafted over him, or of course Drake May. Um, so I see why you would want him to sit out the rest of the season, but USC is just bad now. Like officially, you can label them as a bad football team. And I don't know, it just when freeze warning just issued, excuse me. Um it's just yeah. USC's just bad. They're not playing for even the Pac-12 championship anymore. I wouldn't see it as an incredibly big deal if Caleb Williams sat out. Georgia Tech beats North Carolina, and I just want to say this. I said watch out for this game because Georgia Tech's not a bad football team. And in college football, it really seems like once a good team gets that first loss, especially a loss that they should not have lost, oh my God, they just fall. They just end up sliding. That's what North Carolina's doing right now. Drake May's draft stock is dropping, and North Carolina is just, what are you doing? You were one of the best teams in the country forever. And then you lose to Virginia, and now you're on this slide, this never ending slide to just being bad again. I was excited. North Carolina, a school that's most famous for, heavyweight basketball games in with Duke, right? Lawrence Taylor went to UNC. UNC football has not been relevant since then. I was happy. I was excited. And now you're doing this. Now you're losing to Georgia Tech. What are you doing? Arizona beats Oregon State. Oregon State does not drop that far, but I've been saying this, and I'm going to keep saying this. Arizona is a good football team. They've had very competitive games with USC, with Washington. They slaughtered Washington State, and now they beat Oregon State. Arizona is a very good football team, and they're not ranked. They're not ranked after beating the 11th ranked team in the country. And I guess they didn't beat Washington, they didn't beat USC, so I guess I can see the excuse as to why, but honestly, put them at 25. Arizona is a good football team that deserves to be ranked, in my opinion. And I will hear the argument out that if they want to be ranked, they got to win those games. Absolutely. I'm just saying, Arizona is a very good football team. A very, very good football team. And about the top 25. Washington's still at 5 bothers me. And you could say, well, Washington has struggled against lesser opponents. And sure, right. I agree to an extent. But so is Florida State. So has Ohio State. So is Georgia. And I'll give you Michigan at 1. And I've said this a couple weeks now. Washington has the best win in the country, especially now since Oregon is ranked at number 6. Best win in the country by far. They have a couple more ranked wins. And they're about to play USC. They're about to play Utah. They're about to play Oregon State. I don't know. I don't understand why they're not in the top 4. And hopefully, let's do that. Let's do that right now. Impromptu segment on the show. Let me give you my prediction, or what should be the college football playoff ranking. Number 1 should be Michigan. Michigan has been slaughtering everybody. Sometimes they run into problems in the first half, but they end up fixing it and still beating someone by 40, right? Number 2 should be Washington. best one in the country, top 3 offense, top 30 defense. Yeah, they've been a little shaky, but my confidence is wavering a little bit, but that does not take away from what they've done in the season. Number 3, number 3 should probably be Ohio State. Better wins than Florida State. Looked better than um, yeah, looked better than Florida State. I'm dumb. Looked better than Florida State. Um, has better wins than Florida State. Ohio State should just be a 3. Number 4, I'll give it to Georgia. All right, I'll give it to Georgia. I can't take away, they have a couple ranked wins now. Um, they're probably going to be SEC champions. It should be. The top 4 should be Michigan, Washington, Ohio State, and Georgia. And there's really no debate, right? I don't understand Washington at 5. I really don't, and I hope that it changes when the college football playoff rankings come out tomorrow. And it's so stupid the way that works. It's so stupid the way that works. Why do you have a ranking system and then you completely switch it up for the playoffs? It's so dumb. God, I hope this thing gets fixed soon because I want to like college football. I've told y'all, I've had a lot of fun covering college football this season. But oh my God, the NCAA makes it so fucking hard. So let's move on to NFL Sunday. What happened this past Sunday? And of course, whatever happens between the Lions and the Raiders tonight, I will cover on tomorrow's podcast. But let's go to my game, the Titans and the Falcons. The Titans winning. Oh my God. The Titans winning 28-23. Give me a second. I said, give me a second. Sorry about that. Probably sounded a lot more dickish than I meant to be. But Titans beat the Falcons 28-23 in a game in which I thought they would lose because the Falcons have a good defense mixed with an okay offense. And there's 2 big storylines coming from this, and you can already guess what they are. William Levis, have a day. I don't know how many times I've watched that touchdown throw to Nick Westbrook-Akine in the corner of the end zone. Oh my God, he looked phenomenal. 19 of 29, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 130 quarterback rating. Good Lord, this kid was on fire. On fire. And DeAndre Hopkins was his main target with 4 catches, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns. Have a day, DeAndre Hopkins. And he would have had more if Chig didn't drop the ball and if his ball placement was a little better. I'm going to keep saying this. A lot of those throws were behind the receiver, and just thankfully DeAndre Hopkins is insane. And Traylon Burks, he led him out of the bounds on one of the catches. But Will Levis, phenomenal debut, and I'm very, very excited. I know I don't try to get too excited and I don't try to get too hateful when it comes to rookies, but it's not like Will Levis did this against some rinky-dink, podunk defense, right? He did this against the top 10 defense in the league. I believe top 5, actually. The Falcons have a very good defense, and Will Levis picked them apart. God, man, I'm so excited. It's so nice to see good quarterback play. And it's so nice to see good quarterback play and to get me out of the funk of trying to convince myself that Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback. Now, Titans fans may say I'm overreacting, especially the type that defend Ryan Tannehill. And I've defended Ryan Tannehill for a long time. Well, when you look at Will Levis have that kind of game, and then you look at how Ryan Tannehill has played the past 2 seasons, you're like, yeah, no, Ryan Tannehill's a bad quarterback. What was I thinking? But on the Falcons side of the ball, the O-line absolutely sold. 6 sacks, I believe 5 on Ritter, 1 on Heineke, and that's the big storyline. Desmond Ritter was benched for Taylor Heineke. They said he got a concussion, but then they said he was cleared and he just did not come back in. which sucks because, you know, y'all know, whether you follow me on TikTok, whether you listen to the shows on here, you know that I've always been a big Desmond Ritter guy. Mostly because I have a little love affair with the Cincinnati team that went to the college football playoffs when he was at quarterback. Um, so I hope this is not the end of his starting career. I hope that he can get another chance. But the fact is, I said when people were saying that Taylor Heineke should start over Desmond Ritter because Desmond Ritter isn't that good, I said the Falcons were not playing for anything. So it doesn't really make sense to like start a guy when you're like, oh, we need better quarterback play. No, you don't, because you're not doing anything, right? You're not doing anything. So let the young guy get some reps to try to allow him to be the best quarterback he can be, right? But that was before the Falcons showed serious signs of being contenders for the NFC South. They have a chance to win that division, right? The Saints are a mess. They got a great defense, but their offense is so up and down. The Panthers are a mess, and the Bucks are stupidly inconsistent. They have a very real chance. And honestly, they're the best all-around team in the NFC South. They have a very real chance at winning that division and making the playoffs. So now that you see that you have a very real chance at that, you gotta start the better quarterback. And the better quarterback is Taylor Heineke. And the offense looks better with Taylor Heineke, which really sucks to say. So let's move on to the Vikings and the Packers. And two things about this. A, the Packers started off good, right? The Packers started off and we're like, hey, they're not going to miss Aaron Rodgers at all. Jordan Love looks great. And now they're here at 2-5. I believe, yeah, 2-5. And while Jordan Love does not look amazing, he still shows a lot of potential. And it's just, I was listening to Tom Grossi talk about it, right? So I'm getting a lot of these points from Tom Grossi because I'm not about to act like I watch every Packers game and I know what the issue with the Packers is, right? I was listening to Tom Grossi talk about this game, and he put it out very realistically. The play calling just isn't there, right? They're not as creative anymore. They're not giving the ball to Aaron Jones. Their second leading receiver was A.J. Dillon. That just can't happen. That just can't happen. Your second leading receiver on the Packers should not be A.J. Dillon. Yes, Jordan Love has showed inconsistency. Yes, Jordan Love has shown that he can play pretty bad at times, but he needs help. He needs good play calling. He needs receivers that don't drop the ball. The defense played fine. Right? Again, I'm getting all this from Tom Grossi. Defense played fine. Gave up a lot, but they were also put in bad positions. And for the Vikings, tragedy. Tragedy, dude. So the Vikings were heating up the past couple weeks. They're coming off a win against the 49ers, and then they beat a division rival, and I believe they're sitting at 3-3 now. Or 4-3, I believe. No, not 4-3. But they're relatively good record, and they were getting hot. And I said, before the season, I was like, yeah, the Lions are good. The Lions could win the NFC North, but the Vikings are still there. The Vikings are getting hot. The Vikings are making moves. The Vikings are getting good wins. And then Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles. No, man. Man, dude. That really, really sucks. I don't even know who the backup is. I'll have to look that up. I don't think he's that good, and I don't think this team is good enough to lose Kirk Cousins. I know Kirk Cousins gets hated on a lot. Um, doesn't show up in prime time, even though he did against the Eagles. He's done a lot better this season. And I really hope that's not the last snap he ever takes in a Vikings uniform. But, man, bad, bad luck for the Vikings. And, I'm hoping Kirk makes a speedy recovery. And we'll see what the Vikings can do with whoever steps into the role at quarterback. I want to move on to the Cowboys slaughtering the Rams. I just want to say this. The Cowboys are scary, man. I know a lot of people love to hate on Dak. A lot of people say the Cowboys aren't really going to do anything and, wait till the playoffs. I get it. But the Rams have played very competitively, with most teams this season. And for the Cowboys to absolutely slaughter them like they did, it shows that when the Cowboys are on, there's there's I don't know if there's a team that can beat them. I'm going to be totally honest. I know the Cowboys are, universally hated in the NFL world. I know it's fun to hate on the Cowboys, and it's fun to doubt the Cowboys. But if you watch this game, when you watch this game and you don't have the takeaway, man, if the Cowboys are on, there's not a team that can beat them. If you don't come away with that takeaway, you're just a hater, right? You're just a hater. The Cowboys are a scary, scary team. And for their sake, for the fan base's sake, because I've gotten to know a couple Cowboys fans now, right? I forever hated the Cowboys. It's like one of the two teams I always root against. Cowboys and the Packers. Cowboys because, you know, grandfather was a Commanders fan. My other grandfather was a Dolphins fan that hated Roger Staubach for what Roger Staubach always did to his Dolphins. Um, so I grew up just hating the Cowboys. And then the Packers because my stepmom's a Packers fan. It's fun to poke fun at her. Um, I gotta start saying, yeah, just I hope for the fan base's sake. I've gotten to know a few Cowboys fans, and hey, they're not as bad as people make it out to be, right? They're the same. They're the same. They're the same as you. I know the Cowboys fans. I said this a while ago. The Cowboys fan base hate is so overblown. The only reason the Cowboys fans get that much hate is because they're the loudest, because they're the biggest fan base in the NFL. That's why they get the most hate. Titans fans, Colts fans, Steelers fans, dude, fans of every single team are as delusional as the Cowboys. They're not as loud, and that's the only reason, right? And some people have brought up to me, well, they booed this person when they got hurt, and they did. Yeah, a lot of fan bases have done that kind of crap. A lot of fan bases have. It's not just the Cowboys. So at the very least, the Cowboys fan base is just as bad as other sports fan bases. Get off them. Let's move on to the last two games. One being the Broncos win over the Chiefs. First time in 8 years that the Broncos beaten the Chiefs. Now for the Chiefs, Pat was sick. Right? They said the Pack had the flu. They said that Pat had the flu, wasn't 100%, so you could pretty much chalk that up to that. The Broncos, though, this is the kind of win to give you a lot of momentum, right? It's still relatively early in the season, mid-season, but it's still relatively early. The Broncos could go on a run. This win, divisional rival at home, especially a divisional rival that you hadn't beaten in 8 years. I want to really stamp that. It was 8 years before the Broncos got another win against the Chiefs. Now, I kind of felt that because we never beat Andrew Luck. The Titans could not beat Andrew Luck. So if Andrew Luck kept playing, we could have probably gone on that same kind of run. But that is absurd. And beating the Chiefs at home can give you a lot of momentum. There's still problems with the Broncos. Let's not get it twisted. There's still a lot of problems with the Broncos, but momentum is a very real thing. Lighting a fire under a team, very real thing. Watch out for the Broncos. Broncos country. Let's ride. And finally, we're going to go over the Bengals beating the 49ers. Bengals are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between. Bengals are back, and this is just going to be what they're going to do every season, right? Joe Burrow goes for 28 of 32, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 134 rating. This Joe Burrow game, stupidly accurate, right? Very mobile, making plays. It's Joe Burrow. It's Joey B. Shout out Trap House. But this just is going to be the Bengals' MO. For at least as long as Zach Taylor is the head coach, I guess, where the Bengals are going to start off the first half of the season and we're going to be like, oh, Joe Burrow is actually overrated. Oh, the offense can't do this. The defense isn't that good. Zach Taylor isn't that good. I don't think Zach Taylor is that good, but Zach Taylor isn't that good. Um, and then they're going to start winning game after game after game late in the season. And we're like, oh no, they just, the gun shoots and they just walk. You know what I mean? I hope that, like, track. That's what I was referencing. The Bengals are back. The Bengals are back to being one of the best teams in the AFC. And the NFL is just better when the Bengals are like that. They just are. Now, on the 49ers side, the 49ers have now lost 3 games in a row. And I feel hatred towards this because I said a couple weeks ago, I said that there really isn't. When you look around the AFC, you're like, yeah, you got a lot of good teams, but is there really any team that you can say, yeah, they're going to go win a Super Bowl? Is there really any team where you're like, oh, yeah, no, they can beat the 49ers? And all the 49ers have lost 3 in a row. 2 of those losses being to AFC teams, AFC North teams specifically, and the Browns and the Bengals. I still think they're going to be fine, right? They lost the lead in the NFC West. I think they'll get it back. They're a better team than the Seahawks. They're just in a little rut right now. They're in a little rut row right now, right? They're going to be fine. They're going to be okay. Don't freak out too much, 49ers fans. NFL fans, don't celebrate too quickly. This is still a very, very good football team, especially when they get Trent Williams back, especially when they get Deebo Samuel back. The 49ers are going to be just fine. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Jackie Boy's got a sports show. You just tuned in to that sports show, and I much appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at JJSR615. Follow the pod at Jackie's Show. The TikTok, Jackie Boy Sports for daily sports takes. Email me questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want. OldJackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. That's OLE, JackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. And of course, watch on YouTube, same name as the show. And make sure you rate, make sure you share, trying to grow the show because I love it so much. And making the show daily now, which is a hassle. But hey, we're doing it. We're doing it. Jackie's got a sports show. You just tuned into that sports show. I do much appreciate it. Y'all take care.